Time to bring up Mr. Mahoney, first name of Mark. Mark Mahoney is the co-founder of Powell Mahoney and a long-time veteran of the beverage industry. And this is a good interview to pay attention to because this guy knows a lot. How are you, Mark?
You're making me sound old, Ray. I'm great. How are you?
I was hoping for experience, which you are. I mean,
one comes with the other.
Exactly. Now, I mean, along with a few other brands, you've sort of been at the forefront. Powell Mahoney, that is, has been at the forefront of this premium bottled cocktail mixer movement. And your distribution points keep growing and growing, almost like every month. Can you sort of give us a sort of snapshot of where the product is distributed, how many doors you're in at this point?
Yeah, I mean, year over year, we just had a data set showing us through May. Year over year growth was 64.3%. We've picked up over 3,000 doors in the last 6 months, which is pretty amazing. We're really happy about that. Some of the bigger retailers, we've gone from number one position in specialty, number one position in natural, fastest growing in grocery, number one in Target after 18 months. We're just fortunate enough to have them roll out 6 SKUs nationally for us, which is great. They're a great customer and a great partner to deal with. A lot of the things we've learned from the last year especially is just like the data set, the analytics that are behind the bigger, more sophisticated buyers has really been instrumental for us in our growth, showing us what we need to pay attention to out there in the marketplace. So that's been a really interesting growth pattern, especially in the last year. We've had our biggest growth in 6 years just in the last 9 or 10 months.
What are some of those things that you're paying more attention to on the market?
On the marketing side, number one, foremost is we've got to support our existing distribution. So our distributors, our retailers are, the core of, the blood in our veins. We rely on these guys, and they help us establish a great marketplace to reach our consumers, and we just try to support them as much as we possibly can.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is, we see a lot more brands on the market that are bottled cocktail mixers. A lot more entrepreneurs are getting into that category.
Yep.
It's a different margin item than it is for a traditional beverage, traditional RTD. What's the sort of target velocity for mixers? Is it one per store per day?
Yeah, it's abysmal. We call it the stepchild to RTD. Or it's interesting to look at the different data of cocktail set versus say tonic, carbonated mixers, and then alcohol. So I would say the average is 1 to 2 per week, per flavor in a smaller store. Whereas you're looking at tonic water, mojito might be 5 to 10. So it's 5 to 10 times, and so it's interesting. And I think the driver behind that is the carbonated products. A lot of people are using them and drinking them. They'll add water to it, and it'll be a carbonated beverage. They'll make it into an RTD.
So you talked about your tonic water, which is recently the flavored line. The flavored ones are a line extension, and you're expanding not only your product set but the facility where you make the products.
Yeah.
I visited there it was about a month and a half ago, and you were just sort of still in the initial stages of really ramping up.
Yeah.
You and I talked about it. Why don't we tell our live stream exactly, what is Vermont Bottling Company going to look like in a year or two?
So it's really interesting. Along with the growth that we've had in Powell and Mahoney in the last year, at Vermont Bottling Company, it's interesting because we've ramped up our production threefold in the last 12 months. And by identifying one run per day, we've got to be up to 20 to 22,000 bottles, per shift. And so we brought on a strategic partner, Leahy Foods, which they're helping us, with the growth behind the operation. And we're going to pay attention to the brand building, and they're going to pay attention to, actually building the products for us. So it's a nice strategic partnership for us. It's laying the foundation for us to be a much bigger brand. And, we're all on the same page that the product has to be consistent and constant improvement. Every day we make that product. Everyone on our team, all of our energy is focused on making the best products that we can possibly make.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff for sure. We have some in the office, and we really go at it when we get it. And Vermont Bottling doesn't just make Powell Mahoney. You guys co-pack for a few other brands, including Owl's Brew.
Yep.
And a few others. Thea's English Tea, which is already out here.
Great product.
Yeah. So I mean, what's the process like if someone approaches you and says, "Hey, I want to start co-packing," and I really would love to co-pack with you.
Yep.
What do you need from them?
We've helped incubate a number of brands there, and the challenge with any startup is getting people. Financially is the financial hurdle is the biggest thing. But
what do you mean by financial?
The financial hurdle, it's going to a co-packer. You've got to deal with minimum runs. You've got to have your act together as far as regulatory on your labels and compliance and everything like that. You can't show up with a distributor or an end user and not have the right barcode, and it has to be scannable. So all of those things, we've looked at, and over the course of owning the bottling company for 4 years, we took a step back about a year ago and said, let's just concentrate on Powell and Mahoney, okay, until we have the bandwidth to deal with our other customers. So the existing customers that we had, we said we're going to do the best job that we possibly can for them, and we're not taking on any new business. So as a result of our partnership with Leahy, we now have the bandwidth and capabilities to expand on our co-packing potential. And as a result of that, very quickly, in making some introductions through these guys, this year we're making product for the biggest retailer in Canada, cocktail mixes. We're making some cocktail mixes for one of the biggest retailers in the U.S.
You're talking about private label.
Your private label. And we're actually being fast-tracked in the month of June to be a certified facility for one of the biggest coffee producers in America. I can't say who that is, but it's really exciting stuff.
You sure you can't say who that is?
I cannot say who that is. Maybe at some point.
Well, it was interesting. I was talking to Kari Morris from Morris Kitchen, who also operates and founded a cocktail mixer brand, and she was singing your praises, talking about how she has been doing her own bottling, her own manufacturing in Brooklyn for a short time. Was like, really, we need to step up our manufacturing. How are we going to do this? And it's not necessarily even specialized. You do need to go to a co-packer who knows what he's doing, but the partnership, the collaboration is so critical. What makes it work?
I think you can't be a generalist. So we've become a specialist. When I first bought the bottling company, we had 40 co-pack clients. I was one of them, and that's how I fell into the co-packing business. But as a result of that, and trying to do one thing well, that's what we wanted to do. So over the course of, say, 2 years, we told all of the food manufacturers that we were dealing with that we're a beverage manufacturer. We're not doing food. We're strictly beverage. So we geared all of our equipment to just doing our specific type of beverage. And now we're getting efficient with the equipment upgrades, going to PET, being able to have a full shrink tunnel, bottle depalletization. So really getting much more sophisticated in that. And as a result of our partnership, there are other food service opportunities that have come our way, including doing shrubs for one of the largest food service operators in the U.S., who I can't tell you who it is at this time. Okay.
Well, let's get something that you can tell me. At least I hope you can. Why come to BevNet Live? What are you getting out of this conference?
It's a great networking session for us. We meet a lot of folks that we've known in the industry. We've been in the industry now 6 years, and I think it's has a synergistic effect where you see some of the folks during the year at different events and trade shows, but this is an event where you see a lot of innovation. I actually brought my 2 sons here to really learn, the vertical integration of meeting the right accountants, meeting the right attorneys. And so you can get an education in 2 days here or 3 days here where it would take you 2 years. You've got all the specialists and the best people and all of their individual, respective skill sets here. And you make those introductions and you stay with them. And it can be a big shortcut and a catalyst to learning the business quickly.
I could not have said that better myself. Mark, that was really fantastic. Can't thank you enough for being with us, and look forward to having a drink later on in the cocktail hour.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right, Mark. Great seeing you.